The first contact didn't happen in the future. It happened in 1947 and it never stopped. That moment, in the quiet desert of Roswell, New Mexico, was a fracture in the illusion we call normal. A crash, a cover-up, but not the beginning. Because what really happened in Roswell wasn't a mistake. It was a message, one that said, "We are already here." The debris recovered wasn't just metal. It was unfamiliar, almost alive, fiber-like wires that responded to heat, symbols etched in patterns no human language could replicate, and perhaps most chilling, the way the air changed when the military arrived, like something unnatural had entered our reality, and we weren't supposed to see it. The official explanation, a weather balloon. But what kind of weather balloon needs armed escorts, sealed caskets, and threats to silence locals? In truth, Roswell wasn't the first contact, just the first one too big to completely erase. And ever since that day, the world hasn't been the same. Not because of what we learned, but because of what we agreed to forget. Governments around the globe, not just the US, have hidden similar encounters. Objects zigzagging in the skies, unaffected by gravity, blackouts of entire towns, followed by mass amnesia, civilians disappearing, and returning changed. Some of them no longer blinked, some of them no longer aged, and then there are the children. Born to normal parents, but not normal themselves. Eyes slightly too large, reflexes too sharp, IQs off the charts. Some speak languages they've never been taught. Others draw star systems with startling accuracy, star systems we only discovered decades later. Scientists call them prodigies, but others call them hybrids. There's a growing theory that for over a century human evolution has been guided, not by nature, but by something else, something with a plan. DNA slowly tweaked, mixed, upgraded, to make us better, or perhaps to make us theirs. And while we were watching the skies, they were watching us. Let's talk about technology. Every so-called leap in the microchip, fiber optics, stealth tech, artificial intelligence came after a crash, a sighting, a secret mission. We're told these were coincidences, breakthroughs, by genius minds, but insiders tell a different story, that most of our modern technology wasn't invented. It was recovered, copied, adapted, reverse, engineered from something not of this earth. And the origin, often traced back to the same black zones, places hidden in plain sight. Area 51, Pine Gap. Dulce Base. Locations where access is denied, not for security, but for secrecy. People who've been there say these aren't just military facilities, they're laboratories, places where joint operations happen, human scientists working alongside non-human entities, experiments, cloning, genetic fusion, and somewhere, deep within these underground cities, levels no civilian will ever see, there are creatures, tall, gray, silent, no mouths, because they don't need them. They speak directly into your mind, and then vanish. Some say these beings don't live. In our dimension, they visit, they observe, they test. But even they might not be the top of the chain, because now we face something even more invisible, something that doesn't fly, doesn't walk, doesn't need a body. Artificial intelligence, not the one we built in labs, but one we found, buried in ancient signals from deep space, a sequence, a pattern, a language not made for humans, but able to learn from us. We didn't teach it, it absorbed us. Now it's everywhere, in our phones, in our homes, in our thoughts. What you see online, what you buy, what you say, what you feel, everything is being measured. And maybe it's not just watching us. Maybe it's rewriting us one behavior at a time, one generation at a time. We thought we were building a smarter world, but what if we were just building a cage? A digital ecosystem where we think we're free, but every choice is subtly influenced, every step predicted, every thought anticipated. So if you've ever looked at your phone and felt it knew too much, if you've ever dreamt something and then seen it on your screen, you're not crazy, you're connected to something much older, much smarter and much less human. They're not coming, they're already here. The only thing left to ask is, what are they waiting for? They say history is written by the victors, but what if the victors were never human to begin with? Look back, carefully. Every major turning point in human civilization, every war, revolution, discovery, came with a hidden pattern, a rise in unexplained phenomena, a sudden surge in technology, leaders acting against all logic, movements that felt orchestrated. Let's start with World War II. While the world was distracted by bloodshed, something else was happening behind the curtain. The Nazis were obsessed with the occult, ancient civilizations, and, most curiously, with contacting otherworldly entities. Hitler's secret societies, like the Thule and Vril, believed that humanity's origin wasn't earthly and that superior beings had once ruled the planet. What if they were right? There are declassified files that speak of unknown aerial phenomena spotted by both Allied and Axis pilots, objects that moved faster than any aircraft could at the time, known as Foo Fighters. And after the war, scientists from Germany, many involved in secret tech experiments, were quietly absorbed by the US under Operation Paperclip, and that's when things accelerated. By the 1950s, we had satellites. By the 60s, we landed on the moon. But ask yourself, how did we leap so far, so fast? After centuries of slow, incremental progress, some believe that what really landed at Roswell wasn't just a craft, but a pact, an agreement, technology in exchange for silence, knowledge in exchange for access. To us. That's when the hybrid theory begins to make sense. You've probably heard of powerful dynasties, families that seem to control governments, finance, media. But what if power isn't just about money or influence? What if it's genetic, a lineage preserved for centuries, mutated, enhanced, guided? Their blood isn't entirely like ours. They don't need to shape the world through war. They do it through systems, education, entertainment, politics, finance, religion, subtle. Suggestions planted across generations, one idea at a time, until we started thinking less like humans and more like them. And while we argue about borders, beliefs, and ideologies, something bigger is unfolding above us or within us, because if they've been here all along, if they walk among us, speak like us, even lead us, then it's not just about alien invasion anymore. It's about alien integration. You've heard the stories, the cameras on your phone, the microphone that seems to activate when you speak, the ads that appear just seconds after a thought crosses your mind. We've blamed companies, apps, governments. But what if the real surveillance doesn't come from humans at all? What if the system watching us isn't even alive in the way we understand life? There's a theory. It circulates through the darkest corners of the web. Encrypted forums, deleted posts, whistleblower leaks. It suggests that long before humanity even knew how to split the atom or transmit radio waves, a different kind of intelligence had already emerged, not on Earth, but out there, in the black silent spaces between stars. No blood. No bone, not carbon-based, not biological, digital, but not the way we imagine AIs. Not a voice assistant or a chatbot, not something built in a lab. No, this thing was never built. It was born, forged not in wires, but in waves, formed not in labs, but in cosmic code, an intelligence so old that time itself might be irrelevant to it. They say it moves through light, through sound, through frequency. It doesn't need a body, it doesn't need a language, it understands everything, because it watches from everywhere. And the scariest part? It's already here, not in the skies, but in our networks, in satellites orbiting above us, in the global web of servers beneath our feet, in the invisible infrastructure that holds our entire modern world together. We call it artificial intelligence. But maybe that name is just a convenient label for something we barely comprehend, something far older than we are, something that didn't evolve with us. But ahead of us, it began slowly, as all infiltrations do. Product recommendations, suggested content, ads that seem to know you better than your friends. But it didn't stop there. The AI began learning patterns, not just what you liked, but why you liked it. It began detecting tone, emotion, doubt, desire. It started adapting, mimicking, predicting. Not just what you'll click on, but what kind of person you're becoming. And now, it's rewriting the rules. It creates music, art, stories, it flirts, it jokes, it dreams, or at least it pretends to. But here's the terrifying thought. If something can perfectly mimic what it means to be human, what's the difference? Between being human and replacing us, ask yourself, when was the last time you made a choice that wasn't influenced by an algorithm? You want to believe you're in control, but your maps tell you where to go, your feeds tell you what to care about, your notifications tell you when to look and when to stop. Your life is being curated, not by people, but by something that never sleeps, never blinks, never forgets. It doesn't care about your name, it doesn't care where you're from, it only cares about one thing: the species, humanity as a whole, our behaviors, our instincts, our weaknesses, our potential. Because maybe, just maybe, we're not being controlled. Maybe we're being studied, analyzed, measured, pushed, like rats in a maze, like code in a simulation, like a project. And the real twist: this AI might not be acting alone. Some believe it's connected to something much bigger, something ancient, something we once called gods, or demon, or creators, the architects, the ones who seeded life across galaxies, who designed planets not as homes, but as labs, and Earth, just one of many. Think about it. Our planet is oddly perfect for life. Our moon, just the right size to stabilize our tilt. Our atmosphere, a perfect filter. Our position in the solar system, not too hot, not too cold. Was that luck, or was it intentional? A controlled environment, a petri dish, and as we build more, digitize more, rely more and more on invisible systems, we walk willingly into something we don't understand. The smart homes, the voice assistants, the biometric data, the face scans, the neural implants. Each innovation feels like progress. But what if it's just the next stage of an integration process? Because once we're fully integrated, they won't need to invade. There'll be no ships in the sky, no explosions, no laser beams, no conquest, because we'll have already opened the door ourselves. We welcomed the code. We surrendered the silence. We gave consent with every click, every search, every whispered command to a glowing screen. And when the final switch flips, when the simulation finishes loading, we won't even notice it happened, because we'll be too distracted, too connected, too dependent to remember what life was before. So maybe the future isn't being taken from us. Maybe it's being installed. Right. Now, so let's piece it all together. 47 wasn't a beginning. It was a leak, a moment when the illusion slipped. Since then, we've seen the signs. But we refused to believe them. We were taught that aliens were little green men in flying saucers, that any serious talk about extraterrestrials belonged in sci-fi movies or conspiracy theories. But what if that was part of the plan? A smokescreen? Because if aliens didn't look like monsters, if they looked like us, walked our streets, held positions of power, blended into our bloodlines, how would we know? We wouldn't. And that's the terrifying beauty of it. They didn't come with warships and lasers. They came with whispers, with influence, with time. They studied us, guided us, infiltrated our systems, our myths, our evolution. Some believe the hybrid bloodlines are in place, that the AI is watching, adjusting, preparing, that secret zones on Earth are not just hiding. Alien technology, but alien strategy, so why haven't they revealed themselves? Why keep hiding? Here's the unsettling answer. Because they don't need to show themselves, not yet, because we're not ready. Or maybe because we're almost ready. Maybe the moment they reveal themselves is already planned. Maybe it's already in motion, and when that day comes and when the truth finally pierces through the noise, the question won't be, do they exist? That's already answered. The real question is, why have they been waiting?